You are listening to Kayfabe Commentary. My name is Erik Rupp, and I am your host. And on this edition of the show, we are talking about NWA Powerrr, Episode 19, Strictly Chaos. And I'll tell you what, that one really was chaotic. There was a lot going on in Episode 19 of NWA Powerrr, and we're going to talk about that today. A lot of stuff happening. And right off the bat, I want to say this. Tim Storm, class act. But then again, we have a promo with Tim Storm where he's talking to the great David Marquez, and we all love David Marquez. But he's talking to Marquez, and out comes Tom Latimer to give Tim Storm a hard time. Yeah, Tom Latimer being the big bully tough guy. Yeah, whatever. And then you had, after that, Danny Deals comes out. And Danny Deals, he seems to be setting himself up where he thinks he's going to be a manager. He wants to be a player. He's trying to work some kind of deals. He's got some kind of angle. Well, I'll tell you this. Danny Deals is a scumbag. Danny Deals is a piece of shit. He is a worthless piece of human debris. He gave Tim Storm a hard time. He impersonated badly Tim Storm's mom. Let's face it, a bad Mama Storm impersonation is very insulting. He's damn lucky Tim Storm didn't knock him on his ass right there on the spot. Storm could have clocked him, and he probably should have, because Danny Deals is just a worthless piece of garbage. And I'll tell you what, he really is a scumbag, and if he's going to be a manager, if guys sign on with him, anybody who signs on with Danny Deals is a moron. Only a moron would sign on with a guy like that who is as ethically challenged as Danny Deals is. Oh, but Danny Deals, this guy's a piece of work. He comes out, first off, offering Tim Storm a chance to recapture his glory and get back on his winning ways. If only he'll team up with him and his mystery wrestler that he has ready to go to be Tim Storm's tag team partner. Of course, Tim Storm's not interested. He knows what kind of a scumbag Danny Deals is. He doesn't want anything to do with him. But Danny Deals brings out the wrestler. And who is it? Who's the guy who is so far seems to have aligned himself with Danny Deals? It's former NWA heavyweight champion Jax Dane, the guy Tim Storm beat to become the heavyweight champion. Now, you talk about something where Danny Deals is trying to really get in Tim Storm's head. Jax Dane came out, he went nose to nose, face to face, forehead to forehead with Tim Storm. And I'll tell you what, it looks like this is going to be a major feud between Tim Storm and Jax Dane, with the buttons being pushed by Danny Deals. Now, shifting to a much more pleasant subject, Matt Cross up to this point had not had much of a chance to really talk to the people. He hadn't had much of a chance to let us know who he really is. And he had the chance here with David Marquez to speak his mind and talk about what means the most to him. And I'll tell you what, Matt Cross was extremely impressive. He came across passionate. He loves wrestling. And he loves being in the ring. He loves the fans. He loves the NWA. This guy is where he wants to be. And I'll tell you what, that was a great promo. Matt Cross gave us a chance to find out who he really is. And I think that was the piece that was missing. Before, all we saw was this great acrobatic stuff, this gymnastic stuff, along with some really good wrestling, was what we saw of Matt Cross. Now, he wasn't always winning, but he was performing at an extremely high level. He's got a ton of talent. What we found out, too, is that this is a passionate guy who is passionate about pro wrestling and performing in the ring. And I'll tell you what, he won over a lot of fans on Episode 19 of Powerrr. Now, the match he was involved in right after that promo was absolutely outlandish. You had Zicky Dice, Ricky Starks, and Matt Cross in a three-way match. And this match lived up to what you would expect. There was a whole heck of a lot going on. Matt Cross doing his athletic thing. Ricky Starks, not quite as acrobatic or gymnastic as Matt Cross, but pretty close at some times. And he's got a ton of wrestling ability. And, of course, you've got Zicky Dice, who is a better wrestler than you might think. Zicky Dice, despite his image, despite his outlandishness, Zicky Dice is a solid wrestler who's got a good foundation of wrestling moves, and he definitely took advantage of every outlandish opportunity he had in this match. And while I'm not usually a fan of triple threat matches, this one was outstanding. You had really all three of them had a chance to showcase their abilities in this match. Zicky Dice, though, showcased that he is an opportunist, and when Matt Cross hit Ricky Starks with a shooting star splash, Zicky Dice then threw Matt Cross out of the ring and got the pin on Ricky Starks himself. So Zicky Dice, taking advantage of an opportunity, he gets the win in this triple threat match. One thing that some people have accused me of being perhaps overly harsh on, or a person that they've said I've been overly critical of, has been Joe Galli. Particularly when Joe Galli was trying to interview Camille. He was failing miserably to get her to talk, but he kept trying and kept trying and kept failing. So I was giving him a hard time about that, but I've got to give credit where credit is due. Joe Galli had what may be his best interview as he interviewed Aaron Shooter Stevens, better known by Stu Bennett as ASS. But Aaron Stevens came out and he was in his normal delusional state. He believes that he is the best national champion possible. He believes that he is a master of Mongrovian karate. But Joe Galli wasn't letting him just get away with that. He was pointing out that Aaron Stevens ran away from Scott Steiner and that he used a short time limit to beat Trevor Murdoch. So Joe Galli did his job, and he did it exceptionally well. And he even showed some facial expressions that showed, shall we say, disbelief when Aaron Stevens would say something outlandish. Joe Galli followed up time and again and went after Aaron Stevens. And Aaron Stevens, while he is a charismatic person with a unique personality, he's living in his own world. And at some point, it's going to come crashing down. And I suspect that Trevor Murdoch is going to be the one to bring it down on his head. Trevor Murdoch had a chance in this episode to wrestle the Question Mark, and he beat him soundly. He just trounced the Question Mark, showing that he really is probably the number one contender for that national championship. But then Aaron Stevens became an opportunist himself, and when Trevor Murdoch wasn't looking, Aaron Stevens attacked him from behind, and he just pounded him into submission. It's not hard to do that from behind. I could take out Aaron Stevens from behind. That doesn't mean that I'm a top wrestler. So Aaron Stevens is really, he's put himself in a world of hurt because now Trevor Murdoch is really going to want to open a can of whoop-ass on Aaron Stevens. And I think it's going to happen soon. I hope it's for the title. And, you know, the way things are going now, it would not surprise me at all if that match happens at the Crockett Cup. Now, if you want to talk about epic promos, then the one with Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll is going to be right up there for 2020. Nick Aldis came out to do a promo, an interview spot with Sean Mooney, who, by the way, I'll tell you what, Sean Mooney was just an amazing acquisition by the NWA. We're talking about Sean Mooney, the guy who brought class and dignity to the WWF in the late 80s and early 90s. Sean Mooney, a consummate professional, is now with the NWA. And he's interviewing Nick Aldis, the national treasure, the real world's heavyweight champion. And Nick Aldis is basically stating his case against Marty Scurll. And Marty Scurll comes out, and he's fed up. He wants the match now. The two of them go at it, and it's just a great segment where the two of them are going at it. Two guys who came up together in the UK, friends who now have a very strained relationship, and that's putting it mildly. And they're really going at it verbally. until Skrull gets fed up and he wants Aldis in the ring right then, right there. He takes his shirt off, gets in the ring, takes his watch off. He's ready to go. He wants Aldis right then and there. Nick calls him on it, says, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And then you have Royce Isaacs come out. Nick again asks him if he's positive he wants to do it. And then Tom Latimer comes out. And just when it looks like things are going to devolve into a 3-on-1 beatdown of Marty Scurll, Brody King, part of Villain Enterprises with Ring of Honor, he comes down out of the stands and he basically makes it a fair fight between Marty Scurll and Strictly Business. So you had Villain Enterprises against Strictly Business. You had guys coming out of the back trying to restore order as chaos reigned in the GPB studios where NWA Powerrr was being recorded. You even had Crimson, the wrestler who works behind the scenes for the NWA. He came out as part of the group trying to restore order. It was just an amazing, chaotic moment in NWA Powerrr history. And this one people are going to be talking about for a long time. And if you want to talk about great promos and chaos, how about that promo with Eddie Kingston and Pope? I'll tell you something, Eddie Kingston has really come on lately. He has just gotten back to just being himself. He's the guy that we got to know at the beginning. He's back to that, and he is no nonsense, street level. This guy is for real. He's genuine. And he wants a piece of the Pope. And the Pope, for his part, doesn't seem to want a part of Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston had allied himself with the Bouncers. He brought them in as friends when the Pope had the Dawsons. The Bouncers beat the Dawsons, so Eddie Kingston was feeling really confident, and rightly so. So the Pope comes out, and they verbally go back and forth, and it's a great exchange. It is just a fantastic exchange. Both the Pope and Eddie Kingston come across really well. And that's when the chaos ensued. You had the Bouncers come out, and they blindsided Eddie Kingston, and they took him out. They gave him a beat down. Pope paid off the Bouncers. He got them on his side, and Eddie Kingston had no idea. And this is something that we didn't see coming. This was chaos. And it's something that shows that the Pope is not somebody to be messed with. You don't mess with Eddie Kingston, but at the same time, the Pope seems to be a step ahead of Eddie. And Eddie's going to have to work extra hard to get the drop on Pope. And then we get to the Mind Games. And even more surprises. The main event of NWA Powerrr episode 19 was a title defense for Thunder Rosa against her former mentor or current mentor. We don't even really know what exactly is going on between her and Melina. Melina has been playing mind games with everybody ever since she showed up in the NWA. She's been treating Marty Bell like Marty Bell is inferior, and yet Marty Bell is drinking the Kool-Aid. Marty Bell is falling for her schemes, and she is one of Melina's, for lack of a better term, one of her lackeys. And another person that Melina was playing mind games with was Allison Kay. First, when Allison Kay was the Women's World Champion, and then afterwards, she kept goading Allison Kay into wanting a match with her. And instead of taking her on one-on-one herself, Melina set up a match between Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa. And we know that Thunder Rosa won an epic battle at Hard Times, winning that title. And then a couple weeks later on NWA Powerrr, Thunder Rosa defends her title against Allison Kay, and she wins that match. Allison Kay, of course, is really frustrated because this whole time she's wanted to get her hands on Melina in the ring. So Melina gets in the ring against Thunder Rosa and refuses to fight. Thunder Rosa wants this fight. She feels she has been disrespected by Melina, that Melina has not given her the respect as champion that Thunder Rosa deserves. And Thunder Rosa is absolutely right. Melina has not shown her any respect. And Thunder Rosa wanted this fight because she got tired of the mind games. She got tired of the disrespect. She shoved Melina a couple times, and Melina would not fight. Melina pulled an Aaron Stevens and walked away. And as she was heading up the ramp or up the stairs through the crowd, Allison Kay came down, forcing her in the ring, starting to give her a beat down. And that's when the big surprise came. Camille came out and speared Allison Kay. Allison Kay had no idea it was coming. It was just a mammoth spear. This spear just broke Allison Kay in half, and Thunder Rosa just watched on, trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And the crowd, you could see the crowd going, what the just happened here? You know, half the crowd is cheering, half the crowd's just stunned, and Thunder Rosa and Camille face off before Thunder Rosa leaves the ring. And we got to find out now, who's Camille after? Does she want Allison Kay? We would assume that she wants the title, so she wants a piece of Thunder Rosa as well. But we don't know what the hell's going on. This is just epic chaos.